"You're my wild phase before I settle down," my girlfriend said, twirling pasta like nothing was wrong. I just nodded and started planning my leaving. She'll notice what's missing when it's far too late. I've been with Tina for 2.5 years. We moved in together last year, split everything 50-50, and I thought we were building something real. I've been thinking about proposing maybe next year, started looking at rings, the whole thing. We talk about the future constantly, where we want to live, kids, all of it. Last Friday night we're having dinner, and somehow the conversation turns to her college friends getting married. She's scrolling through engagement photos on Instagram and makes this comment about how boring everyone's become. I jokingly say, "Well, good thing you're stuck with me then," and she looks up with this weird expression. "Aaron, you know you're like my wild phase before I settle down, right?" I thought she was joking. I laughed and said, "What do you mean?" "I mean, like, you're fun and adventurous and everything, but you're not the guy I'm going to marry. When I'm ready to be serious and have kids and do the whole suburban thing, I'll find someone more. I don't know, stable. You're my figure out what I want guy." My stomach dropped so hard I thought I might actually throw up right there at the dinner table. I sat there staring at her, and she's just casually twirling her fettuccine like she didn't just drop a nuclear bomb on my entire future. I asked her to clarify, and she got irritated. "God, Aaron, don't be so dramatic. Like, I'm being honest with you. Most people don't get that luxury. I could string you along and lie, but I respect you too much. I'm just not ready to settle down yet, and when I am, I want someone who can provide the lifestyle I grew up with." For context, I make decent money as a project manager, $75K, but her dad's a surgeon and her mom's a lawyer. She grew up in a $2 house. I grew up in a trailer park. She's always made little comments about money that I brushed off. Like when we go out with her friends and I suggest a mid-range restaurant, she'll say, "Oh, Aaron's being budget conscious tonight," with this little laugh. Or when I wear my work boots to help her move furniture, she'll joke about me bringing the construction site to her place. I spent the weekend in a haze. She acted like nothing happened. Made breakfast Saturday morning, wanted to Netflix and chill Sunday, tried to initiate sex. Like she hadn't just told me I'm essentially a placeholder boyfriend. I keep replaying it and getting angrier. 2.5 years. I've met her entire family multiple times. Her mom asks me when I'm proposing. Her sister includes me in group chats about family events. Was I imagining all of that? Now that I think about it, most of our future planning involves me adapting to what she wants. She's always been specific about wanting to live within 20 minutes of her parents when we have kids. She's mentioned multiple times that she'd want to send our future children to private school, like she had. When I brought up maybe buying a starter home in a more affordable area, she wrinkled her nose and said we should wait until we can do it right the first time. But here's the thing that's really messing with my head. Part of me feels lighter than I have in months. The other part is terrified I just learned the truth about the last 2 years of my life. But I know which feeling is right, and it's not the scared one. Am I crazy for feeling completely betrayed? She says she's being honest, but this feels cruel as hell. How do you build a life with someone you see as temporary? I need to figure out what to do next because I can't keep pretending everything's normal. Edit. Holy shit, this blew up. Reading all your responses, and honestly, yeah, a lot of you are right. I think I've been ignoring red flags for a while. For those asking, yes, we signed a lease together through next August. Yes, she knows I've been ring shopping. Yes, she's met my mom multiple times and calls her future mother-in-law as a joke. That hits different now. Going to have a serious conversation with her tonight. We'll update. Update 1. Posted 2 weeks ago, you guys freaking called it. Every single person who told me this was about control and manipulation. You were 100% right. So Monday night I told Tina we needed to talk. I'd spent the weekend really thinking about her honest comment and realized I needed to understand what exactly our relationship meant to her. I started calmly. "I need you to help me understand something. If I'm just a phase for you, what exactly are we doing here? Are we just roommates who sleep together until you find your real boyfriend?" I could see her shoulders tense immediately. She crossed her arms defensively. "Aaron, like, Why are you making this such a big deal? I told you I respect you enough to be honest. Most girls would just string you along." There it was, that condescending tone where she made herself the hero of her own story. Like I should be grateful for her brutal honesty instead of hurt by it. But that's what you are doing. You're living with me, meeting my family, making future plans, all while knowing you're going to dump me eventually. Her face flushed. "Look, I'm young and I want to experience life. You're good for me right now. You're fun, you're sweet, the sex is great. But I have standards for who I marry, and I'm not compromising on my future just to make you feel better." Each word felt like a small punch. Good for me right now. Like I was a hobby she'd picked up temporarily. I asked what those standards were. She leaned back in her chair, suddenly confident again, like she was finally getting to explain something she'd thought through carefully. She listed them off like a grocery list. Has to make at least 200K, has to have a graduate degree from a top-tier school, has to come from money because he needs to understand the lifestyle, has to want to live in her hometown near her parents, and has to share her values, which is code for Republican who goes to the country club. You're none of those things, Aaron, but that doesn't mean I don't care about you. I was sitting there realizing I've been the placeholder boyfriend for someone shopping for a husband like he's a luxury car. Then she hit me with, "Besides, you're not exactly marriage material right now either. You need to work on yourself, figure out your career, maybe go back to school. I'm actually helping you by being honest about what women want." That's when I felt something shift, like a switch flipped. I looked around our apartment that I pay half the rent for, that I help decorate, where I do half the housework, and something rebelled against that voice. For the first time in months, maybe years, I felt genuinely angry. Not hurt angry, but clear angry. "You're right," I told her. "I do need to work on myself, starting now." The look of confusion on her face was priceless. She clearly expected me to beg or argue or promise to change, to follow the script we'd been running for 2 years. Instead, I told her I was going to start treating this relationship exactly like what she said it was: temporary. No more long-term planning. No more emotional investment beyond what's needed to be civil roommates. No more pretending we're building something together. She backtracked so fast I got whiplash. Suddenly she was leaning forward, reaching for my hand, her voice getting soft and vulnerable again. "Aaron, you're being dramatic. I didn't mean it like that. I love you, you know that." But I could see the panic in her eyes now. This wasn't going according to plan. "But you don't see a future with me." "Not right now, but things could change. If you wanted to work on—" "Nope." I pulled my hand back. "You were crystal clear. I'm your fun phase, got it." The rest of the week was fascinating to watch. I stopped asking about her day, and she started volunteering more information than she ever had before. I stopped making dinner for both of us, and suddenly she was suggesting we cook together more often. When she wanted to watch a movie together, I politely declined and went to my computer instead, and she actually followed me to ask if I was okay. It was like I'd been giving her constant attention she never appreciated until it was gone. Friday she came home and found me researching CrossFit gyms and looking at apartments. I heard her keys hit the counter harder than usual. "What's all this?" I didn't look up from my laptop. "Working on myself, like you suggested." The panic in her voice was immediate and unmistakable. "Aaron, you don't need to move out. We can make this work." Now I did look up, and I could see genuine fear in her eyes for the first time since I'd known her. "How? You've been planning to dump me this whole time." "I never said dump. I said when I'm ready to settle down." She was reaching for me again, but I stood up and stepped back. "Right. So I'll just wait around indefinitely while you decide if I'm worth settling for. Hard pass." The look on her face was pure disbelief. Like she genuinely couldn't compute that I was rejecting her first. Saturday, I toured 3 apartments for short-term lease and joined a gym. Sunday, I started researching the home buying process and got pre-approved for a mortgage. If I'm going to be single anyway, might as well start building something that's actually mine. She's been increasingly clingy this week. Suddenly wants to talk about everything, trying to initiate sex constantly, asking about my weekend plans. It's like she just realized I might actually leave and now she's scrambling. But here's the kicker. I feel lighter than I have in months, but also weirdly sad. All that pressure to be good enough for her world is gone, but so is the fantasy of our future together. I'm just me. And I'm starting to remember that I actually like me. Even if she doesn't think I'm enough. Edit. For everyone asking, yes, I'm looking for my own place. I found a month-to-month apartment I can move into next week while I take my time finding the right house to buy. The mortgage pre-approval went better than expected. Turns out I'm in a much stronger financial position than I thought when I'm not trying to keep up with her lifestyle. Lease isn't up until August, but I'd rather pay double rent for a few months than stay in this situation. Someone asked about my mom's reaction when I told her. She said, "About damn time, honey. You've been walking on eggshells for 2 years." Moms always know. Update 2, posted 1 week ago this week, has been absolutely wild. Tina has completely spiraled since my last update, and honestly, it's been eye-opening as hell. First, I moved into my temporary apartment Wednesday. It's nothing fancy, just a furnished 1-bedroom month-to-month place, but the relief of having my own space again is incredible. I also got my mortgage pre-approval back, and I'm approved for way more than I expected. I'm not rushing into buying anything, but for the first time in years, I'm making plans that are just for me. When I told Tina about the apartment and that I was moving out soon, she absolutely lost her mind. "You're really moving out? Are you being serious right now?" "Of course I am," I said with a shrug. "Why wouldn't I be? Without even discussing it with me. And why would I? You made it pretty clear I'm temporary, Tina." She stared at me, clearly taken aback by how calm I was. "But what about US? What about our plans?" "What plans?" "You mean your plans to keep me around until someone better comes along?" She started crying right then and there. Full breakdown. "I never said you were temporary. I said I wasn't ready to settle down yet. There's a difference. The difference is timing, not outcome. You've already decided I'm not husband material." That's when she really went off the rails. Started listing all the things she'd compromised on for me. How she'd lowered her standards to be with someone from my background. How she defended me to her parents when they made comments about my job and my family. Cool. So she's been doing me a favor this whole time. Good to know. But here's where it gets interesting. She then spent 20 minutes telling me everything I needed to change to be worthy of her. Get an MBA, switch careers, start dressing better, learn about wine, take up golf, move closer to her parents. I could help you become the kind of man I need you to be. And that's when it clicked. This was never about me not being ready. This was about her wanting a project. She wanted to keep me around as her fixer-upper boyfriend while she shopped for something better. I told her I wasn't interested in becoming someone else to earn her love. "Then I guess we want different things," she said. "Yeah, I want someone who wants me." Friday night, I went to the CrossFit gym I joined. It's this small place, super welcoming community. I was struggling with the workout, and this woman named Ellen offered to help me with my form. Turns out she's a nurse who gets off 12-hour shifts and comes straight to the gym because lifting heavy things is cheaper than therapy. We ended up talking for like an hour after class about everything from proper deadlift technique to why hospital coffee is universally terrible. Ellen's 28, just bought her own condo last year, and has this dry sense of humor that caught me completely off guard. She made a joke about how my form looked like a baby giraffe trying to pick up a sandwich, and I actually laughed until my sides hurt. When's the last time Tina made me laugh like that? We grabbed coffee Saturday morning, and it was the first conversation I've had in months where I wasn't mentally calculating whether I was saying the right thing. I found myself actually enjoying someone's company without any agenda. Nothing romantic happened, we're just friends, but it reminded me what it feels like to talk to someone who actually enjoys my company. You know what's crazy? I realized I've been living on her timeline for 2 years. When she wanted to move in together, when she wanted to vacation with her family, when she wanted to redecorate. I never stopped to ask what I actually wanted. Now I'm sitting here in my own space, looking at house listings, and I'm actually excited about making decisions just for me. The mortgage guy said I'm in great shape financially, Apparently, I save a lot more money when I'm not trying to fund someone else's lifestyle. When I got home Saturday afternoon, Tina was waiting with a whole speech prepared. She'd clearly been crying and had this desperate energy. "Aaron, I realize I handled this wrong. I love you and I want to make this work. Maybe we can compromise on some things." "Like what?" "Well, you could look into going back to school part-time, and maybe we could move closer to my parents after the lease is up. I could help you network for better job opportunities." Same shit, different packaging. Still trying to turn me into her ideal man instead of wanting the actual me. "Tina, do you even like who I am right now?" Long pause. "I like, well, you're sweet and reliable and you take care of me. But," another pause, "but you could be so much more if you tried." That was it, the final nail in the coffin. She doesn't love me. She loves the project I could become. The difference is everything. I told her I'm moving out as soon as the house inspection clears next week. Sunday she switched tactics completely, started love bombing me. Made my favorite breakfast, wanted to watch my favorite movie, kept touching me and telling me how much she'd miss me. "We don't have to break up just because you're moving out. We could take some space and see how we feel." "How you feel, you mean? You want to keep me as an option while you figure out what you really want." She didn't deny it. "The house inspection was this morning. Everything looks good. I should close by the end of next week. Tonight Tina asked if we could make the most of our last week together. I told her I'd rather not. She's been texting me all day asking what she did wrong. She still doesn't get it. She thinks this is about her delivery, not her message." Edit. "Ellen and I are going to a climbing gym tomorrow, just as friends for everyone asking. But it's nice to hang out with someone who doesn't make me feel like a rough draft of a person. My dad called tonight after I told him about the house. He said he's proud of me for not begging someone to love me." That hit deep. For the people saying I'm moving too fast, I disagree. I'm moving at exactly the right speed for someone who just realized he's been wasting 2 years of his life. Final update. Posted 3 days ago. Well, Reddit, this journey has reached its conclusion, and honestly, I couldn't be happier with how everything turned out. Though I'll admit, there are moments when I wonder if I threw away something that could have been fixed. But then I remember her grocery list of husband requirements, and I know I made the right choice. After 5 weeks of house hunting, I finally found the perfect place and closed on it yesterday. Ellen came with me to the closing as moral support. The feeling of signing those papers and getting the keys to MY House, not our house, not her parents' approved house, but MY House that I chose for MY life, was incredible. The timing actually worked out perfectly. Living in that temporary apartment for the past month gave me space to breathe, to figure out who I am outside of her orbit. I wasn't just running away from Tina, I was running towards something better. Yesterday evening, I had the conversation with Tina that officially ended things. She'd been texting me constantly during the house hunting process, alternating between anger and desperate attempts to get me back. I needed to get my remaining stuff from our old place and make it final. She was waiting for me with candles lit and dinner prepared. "I thought we could have one last romantic evening together. Tina, we need to talk." "I know what you're going to say," she interrupted, moving closer, "and I've been thinking. Maybe I was too harsh before. You're a good man, Aaron. We could make this work if we both try." The way she said "good man," like she was granting me a title I hadn't earned yet. "I don't want to make it work," I said flatly. "I want it to be over." The change in her face was instant. The sweet, vulnerable act vanished completely. "So that's it." Her voice turned sharp, cutting. "You're just going to throw away 2.5 years because of one honest conversation." "It wasn't one conversation. It was you telling me exactly how you see me and our relationship. I believe you." That's when the real Tina came out. She started pacing, her voice rising with each accusation. Called me ungrateful for everything she'd done for me, though she couldn't seem to name what those things actually were. Said I was making the biggest mistake of my life, that I'd never find anyone better than her who'd be willing to overlook my limitations. But when I mentioned that Ellen was coming to the closing with me for support, her whole demeanor changed. The mask completely slipped. "Oh, so that's what this is about." Her voice turned cold and calculating. You're sleeping with another woman already." "I'm not sleeping with anyone, Tina. Ellen's a friend." She laughed, but it was ugly and bitter. "Right, a friend. You think I'm stupid, Aaron. You think I don't see what you're doing here. This whole thing, the apartment, the house, this conversation, it's all just you trying to make a point, isn't it? Trying to show me you have options." I could see her working herself up, pacing faster now, gesturing wildly. "You found some desperate woman who thinks your little blue-collar act is charming, and now you're using her to try to make me jealous. Well, congratulations, Aaron, you got my attention. Are you happy now? Tina, this isn't about don't lie to me." She spun around, pointing at me. "You started hanging out with her right after our conversation. How convenient. How long have you been planning this little revenge fantasy? Did you tell her about us? Did you paint me as the evil girlfriend so she'd feel sorry for you?" I just stared at her. Even in the end, she couldn't conceive of a world where I'd choose someone over her for legitimate reasons. It had to be revenge. It had to be manipulation. "You think that little new girlfriend of yours is going to stick around when she realizes what you really are? You're blue-collar, Aaron. You'll always be blue-collar." "You're right, and I'm proud of that." She blinked, clearly not expecting that response. For a moment she looked genuinely confused. "Fine, but don't come crawling back when you realize what you've lost. I won't be waiting." "Good, don't." The next hour was surreal. I packed my stuff while she alternated between trying to seduce me and insulting me. She'd follow me from room to room, sometimes touching my arm and speaking softly about memories we'd made together, sometimes hissing about how I was throwing away the best thing that ever happened to me. When I left, she was standing in the doorway crying and asking how I could just walk away. But it wasn't sadness in her voice, it was disbelief. Like she genuinely couldn't understand how someone she deemed not good enough had the audacity to leave her first. Saturday, I moved my remaining things into my new house. Ellen helped me unpack and brought housewarming beer. We ordered pizza and sat on my back deck talking until midnight. Sunday was peaceful. First Sunday in years where I didn't have to worry about whether Tina was happy with how I spent my time. I mowed my lawn, read a book called My Mom, simple stuff that felt revolutionary. Monday morning I got a text from Tina. "I miss you already, can we please talk?" I didn't respond. Monday evening, "I know you're reading these, this is ridiculous, call me." Tuesday, "Fine, be stubborn, but you're making a huge mistake." Wednesday, "Aaron, I'm sorry, I love you, please come home." Thursday, "Whatever. Enjoy your starter house and your basic girlfriend." Today, "I hope you're happy. You chose your ego over our relationship." I blocked her number after that last one. Ellen and I are taking things slow, but there's something real developing there. She likes that I work with my hands, I do carpentry as a side hustle. She thinks it's cool that I bought a house at 31. She's never once suggested I need to change anything about myself. More importantly, I like who I am when I'm with her. I'm funny again, I'm confident, I'm not constantly second-guessing every word I say. My house needs work, but it's mine. My job isn't glamorous, but it pays well and I'm good at it. I'm not rich, but I'm stable and responsible and kind. That's enough. More than enough. For anyone wondering, Tina will be fine. Someone like her always lands on their feet. She'll find her rich lawyer or doctor or whatever, and he'll spend his life trying to measure up to her ever-shifting standards. Better him than me.
"You're a bad influence. I've canceled your flight," my sister texted after leaving me at the airport. I didn't let her control me anymore. Months later, I booked another trip. I'm 27. I had a job I liked, even if it didn't exactly light my soul on fire. I was comfortable. Sure, I'd just gotten out of a long-term relationship that had ended pretty much because of bad timing and no real reason to stay. But it wasn't a big deal, right? People get over breakups all the time. You throw yourself into work, pick up a new hobby, or if you're like me, you let things slide and just keep going. What I didn't see coming, though, was what happened after my boyfriend John died. It was like someone ripped the rug out from under me. One minute he was there making me laugh with his cheesy jokes, always strumming his guitar in the living room, and then just like that, gone. He died in a car accident. A stupid, senseless accident. A car ran a red light, and John, who was just about to head to work for his shift as a doctor, never made it there. The first few months after that, complete blur. I tried to keep busy, diving into work, programming, coding, and everything in between. I was good at it, but that didn't make the pain go away. John's stuff was everywhere: the guitar he loved, his jackets, even his stupid helmet he wore for his motorcycle rides. It felt like his ghost was still hanging around every corner, but I pushed it down. I pushed everything down. I had to. My sister Lisa was there for me in those early weeks. I mean, she wasn't exactly the type to talk about feelings. She had her own way of doing things, and I never really understood it, but she was there. She'd come over with her kids, Tommy and Jake, and somehow their noise and energy made things a little easier to bear. It wasn't like we were super close, but I didn't have anyone else, and Lisa did what she could. But Lisa's always been a bit, well, judgmental for lack of a better word. She's the type who has her life figured out, or at least she thinks she does. Married, 2 kids, living in the suburbs, everything in place. She's conservative in a lot of ways, and I guess that's why I never really expected her to get it. She's got this image of how things should be, and a lot of times I just didn't fit that mold. Still, she helped in her own way. Even if it wasn't with a shoulder to cry on, it was with her kids running around, making me feel like I wasn't totally alone. A couple of months passed, and I was still getting used to life without John. His death left this big hole in me, but then something happened that shook me to my core. I had this sudden need to do something to honor John, something permanent, something that would make his memory tangible instead of just a bunch of memories floating around in my head. I wasn't the type to get tattoos, not really. I mean, I always thought they were a little extreme, but this wasn't about trends or rebellion, it was about John. I wanted him with me in a way that couldn't just fade away. So I went ahead and did it, got myself a tattoo. The artist did a portrait of John with his guitar, that silly little smile he always wore when he played, forever captured on my arm. I'd spent hours deciding on what I wanted, but when it was done, I couldn't stop looking at it. It was painful, sure, but worth it, every single second. 2 weeks went by and the tattoo healed beautifully. It wasn't just some random design, it meant something. It was a piece of John with me, but I wasn't sure how my family would react. I was especially nervous about Lisa. She'd always been the one to judge what was appropriate. Then it's family dinner at Lisa's house. I had just finished up a project at work, so I figured, why not? I showed up at her house, and right away Tommy and Jake came running downstairs like always. Tommy, 12 years old and full of energy, gave me a big hug the moment he saw me. Jake, a little more reserved at 15, gave me a smile and said, "Hey, Aunt Sarah." Everything seemed normal until I took off my jacket. I hadn't really thought about it, but I was wearing a short-sleeve shirt, and there it was. My tattoo, John's face, his guitar, all inked onto my skin. Tommy's eyes went wide. "Whoa, is that Uncle John?" He rushed over, staring at my arm like it was the most amazing thing in the world. "That's so cool," he exclaimed. Jake joined in, his usual cool demeanor slipping away. "That's actually awesome, Aunt Sarah," he said, his eyes still on my arm. But then Lisa saw it. Her face changed in an instant. There was this coldness in her eyes, and I felt the shift immediately. The air in the room thickened, and for the first time I realized this was not going to go well. "What were you thinking?" It wasn't a question, it was an accusation. "That's just ugly. I can't believe you'd do something like that. You didn't even ask me. You didn't consult anyone." I was stunned. I didn't even know how to respond. "It's my body, Lisa. I didn't need your permission." She looked at me like I was speaking a foreign language. "But it's not just your body, is it? You're influencing my kids. Tommy's already asking about getting tattoos. He saw that and now he wants one." I tried to keep my voice steady, but it felt like the walls were closing in on me. "Tommy's his own person. He's allowed to have his own opinions. It's not like I'm telling him to get a tattoo. It's just not right," she interrupted. "You're being a bad influence on them. I'm just trying to protect my kids from turning out like you." Her words hit me like a slap. A bad influence? Because of a tattoo? I couldn't believe it. I opened my mouth to say something, but she cut me off. "Don't come back here with that tattoo. You're not welcome." She didn't even give me a chance to respond. She just turned and walked out of the room, leaving me standing there in stunned silence with her kids looking confused and unsure of what had just happened. I grabbed my jacket and left, feeling a rush of anger and frustration. How had a simple tattoo become the end of everything? How could she turn my tribute to John into something that ruined my relationship with my own sister? I was angry but also hurt by how quickly she judged me, and hurt by how little she understood what that tattoo meant. This was just the beginning. It wasn't just about the tattoo anymore. It was about boundaries, respect, and a family that had a way of controlling everything. I didn't know it yet, but that tattoo was about to change everything in my life. The days after the tattoo reveal were a blur. At first, I thought maybe Lisa would calm down, maybe she just needed some time to process it. I mean, it wasn't like I was expecting a round of applause, but I didn't expect a full-blown rejection either. The weird part, she didn't even talk to me for days after. There was no follow-up conversation, no chance to explain why I did it or what it meant. It was just silence. It wasn't until the next Saturday that I even dared to go over again. I figured I'd give it one more shot, try to talk it out, maybe make Lisa understand. I missed seeing the kids anyway, even if it felt a little strained. So I loaded up on snacks, grabbed a game for Tommy, and made the drive over to her place. When I pulled into the driveway, I had a weird feeling in the pit of my stomach. I knocked on the door, hoping for a warm welcome like usual. The door swung open and there was Lisa, her face tight with that look she got when she was about to start something she knew wasn't going to end well. "Can we talk?" I asked, trying to keep it calm. I stepped inside, feeling like I was walking into an ambush. I tried to smile at the boys, but they didn't even make eye contact. It was like I had suddenly become the enemy. Tommy looked uncomfortable, shifting his feet like he didn't know whether to say something or not. Jake, on the other hand, was looking at his phone, pretending like he didn't even care. Lisa motioned for me to sit down, and I did, though my nerves were starting to get the best of me. "I don't know what you were thinking, but you can't just walk around and act like that tattoo is no big deal," she started, her voice sharp and unforgiving. I opened my mouth to respond, but she didn't let me. "You've turned Tommy and Jake into little rebels. They're obsessed with tattoos now, talking about getting their own when they turn 16. They're asking about artists and designs. How am I supposed to handle that?" Lisa's voice rose with every word, her anger building like a storm. "You've always been selfish, but this is ridiculous." I felt the frustration building up inside me. You can't honestly blame me for this. They're growing up in a world where tattoos are normal. It's not like I told them to get one. They're curious, and there's nothing wrong with that. "Oh, it's not just the tattoos, Sarah," Lisa shot back, her eyes flashing with anger. "It's everything. You're a bad influence. A terrible role model. Do you think I want my kids to grow up thinking it's okay to just do whatever they want without any consequences?" "Lisa, I'm not trying to hurt anyone," I said, my voice quieter but firmer now. "I'm not the one telling them to rebel, I'm just living my life. And you know what? It's my body, my decision. If I want a tattoo, I'll get one. I'm not asking for your approval." "Exactly," Lisa snapped, her hands shaking slightly. "And that's the problem. You never think about how your actions affect others. You just do whatever makes you feel good in the moment. But it's not just about you, it's about my kids. They're my responsibility, and I can't just let you mess with their heads." I sat there staring at her, feeling the anger bubble inside me. I had never seen Lisa so upset. It wasn't just the tattoo anymore, it was like she was making me the villain in her story, painting me as the bad influence, the one who didn't care about family or her kids. It was one thing to disagree with me, but to act like I was the source of all their problems, that was too much. "I'm not doing anything wrong," I said finally, standing up. "I came here to try and talk things through, but you're not listening to me. You're just making assumptions and blaming me for things that aren't my fault. Maybe it's time you started thinking about the consequences of your actions," she said, her voice dripping with disappointment. "You're not welcome here anymore. Don't come back with that tattoo. I won't have you influencing my kids anymore." Her words hit me like a punch to the gut. I stood there in shock, trying to process what had just happened. "You're kicking me out?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. Lisa didn't even flinch. "Yes, I am." I couldn't believe it. After everything I'd done for her, after all the times I'd helped out with the kids, and now this. She was throwing me out over a tattoo, something that meant something personal to me, something that had nothing to do with her or her kids. I grabbed my jacket and turned to leave. Fine, if that's what you want, I'll go, but don't expect me to come back. I don't need your approval and I won't let you make me feel like I'm the one who's wrong here. I slammed the door behind me, feeling my chest tighten as I stepped into the cold air. I had no idea where to go, but I couldn't just go home, not after that. The next few weeks were a blur of frustration and anger. I couldn't get Lisa out of my head. How could she be so unreasonable, so ruthless? I tried to go back to my normal routine, working, trying to find some semblance of peace, but it was hard. Every time I thought about the kids, about how they were probably being told I was some sort of bad influence, I felt this intense wave of guilt, like maybe I really had done something wrong. And then came the moment that would change everything. Our family had been talking about this European trip for months. It was supposed to be a fresh start, a chance for me to finally break free from everything weighing me down. Lisa had offered to sponsor it after John passed away, saying it would help me heal. I should have known that the fight at her house about my tattoo would change everything. Lisa's problem was never really about the tattoo, it was about control. She always needed to manage who I was and how I lived. Still, part of me hoped this trip might fix things between us. When the day finally came, nothing went right. I was standing in the check-in line, passport ready, when my phone buzzed. I glanced down at the new email notification and my stomach dropped. Your flight has been canceled. Please contact your travel agent for further assistance. I couldn't believe it, had to be a mistake. I rushed to the counter, but the airline staff just shook their heads. They were as confused as I was. No one could tell me why my flight was suddenly canceled. I felt my heart sink as the reality hit me. I wasn't going anywhere and I had no idea why. Then my phone buzzed again. This time the message wasn't from the airline, it was from Lisa. I can't let you do this, Sarah. You're not going to Europe, not when you're still a bad influence on my kids. I've canceled your flight. They don't need you messing with their heads anymore. I stood there, numb, the reality sinking in like a weight around my chest. She had crossed a line. This wasn't just about the tattoo anymore or about her disapproval of my choices. This was about her refusing to let me live my life on my own terms. It was manipulation, plain and simple. My phone fell from my hand as I stepped away from the counter. I didn't know what to do or where to go, but I couldn't just let this slide. I couldn't let her get away with treating me like I was a child who needed to be controlled. This was it. This was where I had to draw the line. I was done with trying to appease her, done with playing by her rules, and done with letting her dictate my life. This trip was supposed to be my escape, my fresh start, but it had turned into something I didn't expect, a battle for my independence. And from that moment on, I knew I had to fight for it, no matter what. Eventually, I found myself on the outskirts of town, parked in front of a small, quiet cafe. I sat there in the car for a while, trying to gather my thoughts, my breath, but nothing made sense. The only thing I knew for sure was that I couldn't go back to the way things were. I pulled my phone out again, and this time I called my therapist. She'd been helping me navigate everything with John's death and my complicated relationship with my family. I didn't expect her to have all the answers, but I knew I needed someone to talk to, someone who wouldn't judge me. Sarah, she answered on the first ring. Her voice was warm, calm, exactly what I needed. I don't know what to do, I said, my voice trembling. My family, they just won't let me live my life. I don't know how to deal with this anymore. I'm glad you called, Sarah, she said. I think it's time we talk about boundaries and what you're willing to accept from your family, from Lisa. I felt a lump form in my throat. The tears I had been holding back finally started to spill over, and I let them fall, not caring who saw. I don't even know how we got here. I was just trying to honor John. I thought maybe I could do something for me for once, but now it feels like everything is falling apart. You're not falling apart, Sarah. You're standing up for yourself. That tattoo wasn't just about John. It was about you finding a way to live for you in your own way. And that's okay. But your family, they're not going to understand that right away. And maybe they won't ever understand it. I sniffled, wiping my nose with the sleeve of my jacket. I'm so tired of trying to get their approval. I can't keep doing this. I feel like I'm stuck between what they want for me and what I need for myself. And that's why it's important to set clear boundaries. You can love your family, but you don't have to let them control your choices. What Lisa did, canceling your trip, that was her way of trying to take control of your life again, but you don't have to let that happen. I took a deep breath, feeling a little lighter with every word. It wasn't easy to admit, but I knew she was right. Lisa had always been the one to take charge, to make the decisions, and I had always let her. But this time I couldn't, not when it meant giving up who I was and what I needed. I know what I have to do now, I said quietly. I have to stand up for myself. I can't keep living for them. I need to start living for myself. That's exactly right. You're stronger than you think, Sarah, and this is just the beginning. I stayed on the phone with her for a while longer, talking through the steps I needed to take, the changes I needed to make. By the time we hung up, I felt a sense of clarity that had been missing for months. I had let Lisa's judgments control me for too long, but not anymore. I was done living under her thumb. I took out my phone and started typing a message to Lisa. It was time to lay everything on the table. I had to do this. Lisa, I've been thinking a lot about everything that's happened, and I need to be clear with you. I can't keep living my life trying to meet your expectations. I know you think I'm a bad influence, but I've made my choices and I'm going to live with them. I'm done trying to get your approval. I can't keep giving and giving only to be judged for it. I need space. I need to find myself again without worrying about how you or anyone else feels about it. I'm not asking for forgiveness, I'm just telling you the truth. You don't get to control my life anymore. I pressed send. It felt like a weight had been lifted off my shoulders. I didn't know how Lisa would react, but I wasn't waiting for her to make the first move anymore. This was my life, and I was going to live it the way I wanted to. For the first time in years, I felt free. The next few days were a whirlwind of emotions. I spent the next week focusing on myself. I didn't pick up the phone when Lisa called. I didn't respond to the endless texts from my parents, my aunt, or anyone else who seemed to have an opinion on what I should be doing. For once, I just let myself breathe. I'd managed to save up a decent amount of money over the last few months. The Europe trip that had been stolen from me was still something I longed for, something I needed. The freedom, the space, the ability to experience life on my own terms. So I did it. I booked my own flight. I didn't wait for Lisa's approval, and I didn't ask for anyone's permission. I knew it was going to be expensive, but I didn't care. It was my money, and I had earned every cent of it. I couldn't wait to stand on my own 2 feet on my own journey, away from all the noise. As the plane soared higher into the sky, I closed my eyes and thought about John. I thought about the tattoo, the one I had gotten for him, the one that had caused so much pain but had ultimately given me the strength to move forward. He would have been proud of me, I thought, proud that I was finally doing something for myself. And as I thought about everything that had brought me here, losing John, the betrayal, the broken relationships, the hard-fought victories, I realized something. The journey wasn't just about the destination. It was about finding myself again in a world that had tried to force me into a mold I didn't fit. This was my time, this was my journey, and nothing could take that away from me.
Single for the weekend, my girlfriend posted, with a video of her making out with a stranger while her friends cheering her on. I didn't lose it. I just pulled out my phone and canceled her flight home. So this happened last weekend and I'm still processing it. Need some outside perspective because everyone's telling me different things, and I honestly don't know if I'm the asshole here or if I'm justified in what I did. My girlfriend Hannah and I have been together for 3.5 years. We lived together, split everything 50-50, and I genuinely thought we were solid. She's always been a little attention-seeking on social media, but nothing that ever really bothered me. We've talked about marriage, kids, the whole thing. I was actually looking at rings. Last month she told me her friends Erica, Riley, and Zoe were planning a girls' weekend to LA. These aren't her usual friend group. They're newer friends she met through work who are all single and kind of. Well, let's just say they party hard. Hannah asked if she could go and I said of course. Why wouldn't I? I trust her, and everyone deserves time with friends. The only thing that made me slightly uncomfortable was when she said, "You're not going to be one of those controlling boyfriends who checks up on me every 5 minutes, right?" I thought it was weird she brought that up since I've never been controlling, but I just said no, have fun, be safe. She left Friday morning. I used my credit card points to book her flight because she's been tight on money lately. Round trip, obviously. I even drove her to the airport and kissed her goodbye like everything was normal. Friday night, I'm hanging out with my buddy Jake, not even thinking about her, when my phone starts buzzing. Multiple friends sending me screenshots of Hannah's Instagram stories. My stomach dropped through the floor. The first screenshot showed Hannah and her girls at some rooftop bar, all glammed up with drinks in hand. The caption read "Single for the weekend," with those laughing, crying emojis. I stared at it for a solid 10 seconds, trying to process what I was seeing. Single. We'd literally kissed goodbye at the airport 12 hours earlier. Then came another screenshot, this time showing Hannah on what looked like a dance floor with some random dude's hands wrapped around her waist from behind. She was leaning back into him, eyes closed, totally lost in the moment. The caption just said, "When in LA," with a devil emoji. My hands started shaking. The third one was a selfie of Hannah and this same guy, both clearly wasted, faces pressed together with that drunk, sloppy grin people get when they're too far gone. "New friends," she'd written, with a winking emoji that made my blood run cold. But the one that really killed me was the last one. This one didn't come with any caption at all. It was a video. Hannah making out with this dude in what looked like some club, his hands in her hair, her body pressed against his. In the background, you could hear Erica's voice cheering, "Yes, girl, get it," while she filmed the whole thing like it was some kind of celebration. I couldn't breathe. Like literally felt like someone punched me in the chest. Jake had to take my phone away because I just kept staring at the screen in disbelief. This is the woman I was planning to propose to. This is the woman who sleeps in my bed every night and tells me she loves me. I wanted to scream, to smash my phone, to call her and unleash every curse word I knew. Part of me wanted to book a flight to LA immediately and confront them both. But somehow, a cold, calculating part of my brain, maybe a survival instinct I didn't know I had, kicked in and overrode the emotional chaos. I didn't call her. I didn't text. I didn't blow up her phone like some crazy boyfriend. Instead, I went home and did something that apparently makes me psychotic, according to her friends. I canceled her return flight. Those were MY points, my credit card, MY booking. Then, in a fit of rage and desperation, I drove to Home Depot and bought a security camera for the front door and new locks for my home office where I keep my work equipment. I knew, vaguely, that changing the main apartment locks while both our names were on the lease would be legally messy, but the primal need to protect my space, to create some boundary, overrode rational thought. I spent Saturday morning installing the camera and securing my personal workspace, my hands still shaking from everything I'd seen. Am I crazy here? She publicly humiliated me in front of everyone we know. Posted herself cheating on me for the entire world to see. But apparently I'm the bad guy. She's been blowing up my phone since Sunday when she tried to check in for her flight. I haven't answered a single call or text. Her friends have been messaging me, calling me petty and psycho. Even some of our mutual friends are saying I went too far. But here's what I keep thinking: if someone is bold enough to post themselves cheating on social media, they've already made their choice, right? Like she wasn't even trying to hide it. She was celebrating it. I'm second-guessing everything now. Did I overreact? Should I have just broken up with her like a normal person? Part of me feels guilty that she's stuck across the country, but then I remember those videos and the guilt disappears. What would you guys do? Edit. Yes, we live together and both our names are on the lease. No, I didn't take any of her stuff. It's all still here. And yes, I'm sure those stories were meant to be public because literally everyone saw them. For those asking why I didn't just call her, what exactly was I supposed to say? "Hey babe, saw you making out with a stranger on Instagram, just checking in." She made her feelings pretty clear through her actions. Update 1. Posted 2 weeks ago. First, I need to be honest. Saturday wasn't as clear-cut as I made it sound. After I canceled her flight, I sat in my car in the Home Depot parking lot and cried for 20 minutes. I kept second-guessing myself, wondering if I was being cruel, if I should call her back and fix everything. Jake had to come over that night because I was spiraling. He found me looking at flights to LA, actually considering going out there to talk things through. "Bro," he said, literally taking my laptop away, "I've been watching you get played for months. This is your wake-up call." He made me watch Netflix until I came to my senses, but not before pointing out all the red flags I'd been ignoring, the constant need for validation, the way she tested boundaries, how she'd isolate me from friends during couple time. So after my original post, Hannah's situation in LA got complicated. Turns out her new friends weren't as loyal as she thought. Sunday night, when she realized she couldn't get home, she called Erica for help. Erica apparently told her she was being dramatic and that she could just book a new flight. When Hannah explained she didn't have money for a last-minute flight, we're talking like $800 or more, Erica suggested she ask her new boyfriend for help. Hannah finally broke down and called me Sunday night. I let it go to voicemail. The message was 6 minutes of her crying, apologizing, saying it didn't mean anything, that she was drunk, that she loves me and just wants to come home. She said she'd made a terrible mistake, and that seeing those Instagram stories now she understands how it looked, but it wasn't that serious. I saved the voicemail but didn't respond. Monday she started calling from different numbers. Her work phone, Erica's phone, random numbers. I blocked them all. Then she tried Instagram, then Facebook, then freaking LinkedIn of all places. I wasn't answering any of it. Tuesday her mom called me. That's when I knew Hannah was getting desperate. But her mom was actually really cool about it. She said Hannah had called her crying, explained what happened, and asked for money for a flight home. Her mom basically said, "You made this mess, you figure it out." Savage. But here's where it gets interesting. Her mom also told me some stuff I didn't know. Apparently this isn't the first time Hannah has pulled something like this. During her last relationship before me, she went on a girls' trip to Miami and came back with some suspicious photos on social media. Her ex forgave her, and then she did it again 6 months later. Her mom said she was hoping Hannah had grown out of this phase. A phase. Like cheating on your boyfriend is something you grow out of like acne. Wednesday I finally broke and looked at her Instagram. All the LA stories were already gone, but she had posted a new one. A picture of herself crying with the caption, "When you realize you've lost the best thing that ever happened to you. Some mistakes can't be undone." The comments were a shit show. Half were her girlfriends supporting her like, "You deserve better, queen." And the other half were people who'd seen the original stories calling her out. Someone even screen recorded the making out video before she deleted it, reposted it, and dropped the link in the comments. Thursday she showed up at my work. Security called me down to the lobby and there she was, looking like she hadn't slept in days, with a suitcase. She'd somehow gotten a flight home, I still don't know how, and honestly I didn't care either and came straight to my office. The conversation was intense. The moment she saw me, she started crying. "Alex, thank God, I've been trying to reach you for days. How could you just abandon me like that?" "Abandon you?" I kept my voice level. "You seemed pretty comfortable with your new friends. It was just dancing, just harmless fun. You know I love you, this was nothing." "Hannah, you posted yourself making out with another guy. You captioned yourself as single." She wiped her eyes, getting more defensive. "It wasn't like that." "What was it like then?" "Everyone we know saw it, Hannah. Your friends were cheering you on while you kissed him. It was one stupid kiss. It meant nothing, but what you did." Her voice got higher, more desperate. "You left me stranded across the country with no way home. I could have been stuck there forever. You had friends there. Those weren't real friends. They ditched me the second I needed help." She grabbed my arm. "Please, can we just go home and talk about this? I know you're hurt, but we can fix this." I pulled my arm away. "We can't fix this, Hannah. This isn't about one mistake. This is about who you are." I was drunk. It was just for attention, just silly stories. I never meant for anyone to take it seriously. I asked her point blank. "If you didn't want anyone to take it seriously, why did you post it publicly where everyone we know could see it?" She didn't have an answer for that. The thing that really got me was when she said, "I know you're angry, but what you did was cruel." Like she was the victim in this situation. "We're done, Hannah," I said curtly. Someone who loved me wouldn't publicly humiliate me for entertainment. Her face went pale. "What? No, Alex, please, we can work through this. You wanted to be single for the weekend. Now you can be single all you want." She started sobbing harder. "Please, Alex, I'll delete everything. I'll post an apology. I'll do anything. Please don't throw away 3.5 years over this." Honestly, seeing her so broken made me doubt myself for a moment. This was the woman I'd planned to marry after all. But then I remembered those videos, the way she'd bragged about betraying me to strangers, and I knew I couldn't go back. "I'm sorry, Hannah, but we're done." She's staying with Erica now, I think. She came by the apartment yesterday when I was at work and left her key on the counter with a note that just said, "I'm sorry. I love you, please reconsider." But I keep thinking about what her mom said. This is a pattern. If I take her back, I'm just setting myself up for Miami too in a few months. My friends are split. Half think I'm a legend for the power move. Half think I should have just broken up with her like a normal person instead of stranding her. But honestly, if someone is comfortable enough to cheat on you publicly, they've already decided the relationship is over. I just made it official. Edit. About the apartment, we're both on the lease, but I've been paying the full rent for the last 8 months because she was saving money. Guess I know what she was saving for now. Update 2, posted 1 week ago. This saga has taken some wild turns, and I need to get this all out because I can't even believe what's been happening. So last week I thought things were settling down. Hannah was staying with Erica. I was adjusting to life without her, and I was actually starting to feel good about my decision. Then Wednesday happened. I got a call from my landlord asking about the incident. Hannah and Erica showed up at my apartment building Tuesday night, drunk, banging on the door and shouting. When I didn't answer after 10 minutes of knocking, they tried to convince the super to let them in because Hannah forgot something important. I was inside, watching through the new security camera, but chose not to open the door. The super explained that while Hannah was on the lease, he couldn't force entry when the other tenant was home and refusing access. When they wouldn't leave quietly, other tenants complained and the super called the cops. I had to go down to the building office and confirm that Hannah no longer lives there and doesn't have permission to enter. Embarrassing as hell, but what choice did I have? But here's where it gets really crazy. Thursday morning, I get a text from an unknown number. It's a video. Not from Hannah, from someone who was at that club in LA. You guys, the video I saw on Instagram wasn't even the worst of it. This was a longer video showing Hannah and this dude basically all over each other for like 20 minutes. Making out, his hands everywhere, her literally grinding on him while her friends cheered. There's audio too, and you can hear her saying things like, "My boyfriend would die if he saw this, and what happens in LA stays in LA, right?" The person who sent it said they recognized Hannah from mutual friends and thought I should know the full story. They said there was more, but this was enough to show what kind of person she really was. I felt sick. Not just because of what I saw, but because this random stranger had more respect for me than my girlfriend of 3.5 years did. Friday, I decided to take control of the narrative. I posted a statement on my Instagram. I rarely post, but felt like I needed to. For everyone asking about my relationship status, Hannah and I have broken up. While I won't share private details, I will say that respect and loyalty are non-negotiable for me. I'm grateful to learn this about her character now rather than later, moving forward with love and no regrets. Simple, classy, didn't throw her under the bus but made it clear I was done. The response was overwhelming and honestly mixed. Comments poured in from friends, coworkers, even people from high school. While a solid majority were supportive, it wasn't the clean sweep I'd expected. Some mutual friends stayed conspicuously silent, clearly uncomfortable with the public nature of everything. A few people I respected actually messaged me privately saying they understood my anger but wished I'd handled it more discreetly. Hannah's friend group came out swinging, as expected, But even some of my own friends questioned whether posting publicly was the right move. The hardest part wasn't Hannah's friends attacking me. It was seeing people I genuinely respected staying neutral or gently suggesting I take the high road. My coworker Amanda said she felt bad for both of us and wished we could have worked it out privately. Even Jake, who fully supported my decision, admitted he was uncomfortable with how public everything had become. It made me question whether I'd handled this the right way, even though I still felt justified. Erica commented, "There are two sides to every story and you're not innocent either." Riley added, "Hannah made a mistake but you abandoned her." But then something interesting happened. Other people started commenting their own experiences. A girl from college said she saw Hannah flirting with her boyfriend at a party last year. One of my coworkers said Hannah had been messaging her husband on LinkedIn asking to grab drinks sometime. Stuff I had no idea about. Saturday, Hannah called me from Erica's phone, which I hadn't blocked yet. She was hysterical, saying people were attacking her online and that I was ruining her reputation. She begged me to delete the post, said she'd do anything to fix this. I told her she ruined her own reputation by posting herself cheating for the world to see. I said if she wanted to keep her business private, she shouldn't have made it public entertainment. She started screaming that I was cruel and vindictive, and that she never meant to hurt me. When I pointed out that posting videos of herself making out with other men while talking about how her boyfriend would die if he saw it seemed pretty intentionally hurtful, she hung up. Sunday, her mom called again. This time she wasn't as understanding. She said Hannah was devastated, and that while she didn't approve of what Hannah did, my response was disproportionate. She asked if I'd consider couples counseling. I told her respectfully that counseling is for couples who want to work through problems, not for people who publicly humiliate their partners for entertainment. I said Hannah had shown me exactly who she was, and I believed her. The hardest part is that I really did love her. I had this whole future planned out in my head. But I keep coming back to something my dad told me when I was younger. People show you who they are through their actions when they think no one's watching. But when they show you who they are when they know everyone's watching, believe them. Hannah didn't just cheat. She celebrated cheating. She made it into entertainment. She bragged about betraying me to strangers. That's not a mistake or a lapse in judgment, that's character. Hannah's not upset about losing me. She's upset about facing consequences. If she was really sorry about hurting me, she would have accepted my decision and tried to make amends quietly. Instead, she's focused on managing her image and getting me to fix the situation for her. I'm not fixing anything. I'm just moving forward. Edit. For those asking about the lease situation, I'm working with my landlord to get Hannah's name removed. It's a process but should be resolved soon. No, I will not be sharing the video someone sent me. That's not the kind of person I want to be, even if Hannah was comfortable sharing intimate moments with strangers. Final update. Posted 3 days ago, the saga has reached its conclusion, and honestly, I couldn't have written a better ending myself. Last week, Hannah made one final attempt to fix things. She showed up at my office again. Security is getting tired of her. But this time she came with a different strategy. Instead of tears and apologies, she brought anger. She accused me of destroying her life and said I was obsessed with revenge. She claimed she'd lost friends, that people at work were treating her differently, and that her reputation was ruined because of my vindictive social media post. She demanded I post a clarification saying we'd broken up due to mutual differences and that there was no cheating involved. I almost laughed. She wanted me to lie publicly to protect the reputation she'd destroyed herself. I told her no. I said if she was embarrassed by her actions, she should examine why those actions were embarrassing, not blame the people who witnessed them. She stormed out threatening to tell everyone the truth about who I really are. I'm still waiting for that revelation. But here's the beautiful part. Yesterday, I ran into Riley, one of Hannah's LA friends, at a coffee shop. She was with someone I didn't recognize, and I overheard their conversation while waiting for my order. Riley was telling this girl about Hannah's psycho ex-boyfriend, who abandoned her in LA for dancing with someone. But then she mentioned something interesting. Apparently Hannah never told them she was in a relationship when they invited her to LA. Riley said they thought she was single the whole time. When I turned around, Riley saw me and went white. I didn't say anything, just smiled and nodded, but it confirmed what I'd suspected. Hannah had been presenting herself as single to these women from the beginning. The girls' trip was always intended to be something more. The final piece of closure came from an unexpected source. Hannah's mom called me one last time. She said Hannah had finally told her the full story about LA, including things she'd left out before. Her mom said she was ashamed and disappointed and wanted to apologize to me personally for her daughter's behavior. She also told me something that made everything make sense. Apparently Hannah had been having doubts about our relationship for months, but hadn't known how to break up with me because we lived together and she couldn't afford to move out. The LA trip was her way of creating a situation that would force a breakup, so she could be the victim instead of the bad guy. It was all calculated, but her plan backfired because she expected me to blow up and give her ammunition to paint me as the crazy ex. Instead, I just left, and without my reaction to villainize, she had to own her actions. I'm doing really well now. Hannah's name has been removed from the lease and I'm staying. Fresh start in familiar surroundings. I've reconnected with friends I'd lost touch with during the relationship. Funny how that happens. I'm dating again. Nothing serious yet, but it's nice to remember what it feels like to be with someone who respects me. Hannah is apparently doing fine. She moved in with some coworker and has been posting on social media about new beginnings and learning to love yourself. Good for her. Someone asked me if I regret how I handled this. Honestly, no. Could I have been more mature? Maybe. But when someone publicly humiliates you, they forfeit the right to expect private courtesy. She chose to make our relationship drama public entertainment, so she got to deal with public consequences. Thanks again, Reddit. This will be my last update on this situation. Time to close this chapter and focus on the future.
If anything happens to your niece, that'll be on you, my dad said after I refused to be a free nanny, so I left them behind. A week later, Dad called me. I'm 28, female, and a pediatric nurse at one of the busiest children's hospitals in our city. The irony of caring for sick children all day while being pressured to give up my career to care for my niece isn't lost on me. I grew up in a family that's always put an enormous amount of pressure on me, especially since I'm the responsible one, a label that's been both a blessing and a curse. My parents have never quite understood or accepted that I might want something different for myself. Every achievement in my career has been met with barely concealed disappointment, always followed by questions about when I'm going to settle down and start a real life. My sister Janice, who's 31 now, had her daughter Denise when she was 24. She's always been the golden child, the one who could do no wrong in our parents' eyes. Even having a child young and unmarried didn't tarnish her status. If anything, it elevated her further in their eyes because she was embracing motherhood. While they were throwing money and support at Janice, helping her with everything from rent to childcare, I was largely left to fend for myself. The babysitting started almost immediately after Denise was born. At first, it was just occasional evenings when Janice wanted to go out. Then it became every weekend. Before I knew it, I was expected to be available whenever Janice needed me, regardless of my own plans or commitments. During my nursing school years, I'd often find myself studying late into the night because my days were filled with watching Denise. I remember one particular incident during my final year of nursing school. I had a crucial exam the next day, but Janice showed up unannounced at my apartment at 7 p.m., Denise in tow, saying she had a date and couldn't find anyone else. When I tried to say no, she immediately called our parents, who spent the next hour berating me about family responsibility and how I was being selfish. I ended up watching Denise until midnight, then stayed up until 4 a.m. studying. I barely passed that exam. Despite all this, I managed to put myself through nursing school. I worked multiple jobs, took out loans, and somehow made it work. I became a pediatric nurse, found a job I loved, and built a life for myself. But somehow that was never enough for them. Every family gathering became an interrogation about why I was wasting time on a career when I could be raising a family. The babysitting demands only increased as Denise got older. Janice would regularly call me during my hospital shifts, expecting me to leave work to pick Denise up from school if she had a more important commitment. My parents always backed her up, saying things like, "Your sister has real responsibilities," or "It's just a job, family comes first." They never seemed to understand that as a nurse, I couldn't just abandon my patients whenever Janice wanted me to. The situation reached its breaking point about 6 months ago. My dad called me, saying they needed to have a family discussion about something important. I assumed it was another request for help with Denise, probably because Janice had started a new job, but what they had in mind was far more extreme than anything I'd imagined. When I arrived at their house, they sat me down in the living room. My dad, mom, and Janice were all there, with Janice wearing that familiar smirk that always appeared when she knew she was about to get her way. My dad cleared his throat and said, "We've decided that it would be best for you to quit your job and come back to live with Janice to help take care of Denise full time." I actually laughed, thinking it was some kind of joke. But then my mom jumped in, her voice carrying that serious tone I'd grown to dread. "You're the one with the flexibility, honey," she said, as if my career meant nothing. "You don't have a family of your own yet, and Denise needs stability. Janice has so much on her plate, and we're getting ready to move to Florida." They had been planning this retirement move for years, but apparently their golden child needed more support than their retirement dreams. I sat there, waiting for someone to acknowledge how absurd this request was. But they continued explaining their perfect plan as if it was the most natural thing in the world. They'd saved their whole lives to retire in Florida, and it wasn't fair to them to have to delay that. Meanwhile, Janice just sat there with that self-satisfied expression, not contributing anything to the conversation but clearly expecting me to fall in line as usual. The more they talked, the more I realized how little they valued me or my choices. They spoke about my career as if it was just a hobby I could easily set aside, completely dismissing the years of hard work and dedication it had taken to become a pediatric nurse. They talked about my time as if it belonged to them, as if I had no right to make decisions about my own life. I finally found my voice and told them firmly and clearly that this wasn't going to happen. I explained that I had a career I'd worked hard for, one that allowed me to help sick children and their families. I wasn't about to give that up to become an unpaid, full-time nanny just because they felt entitled to my time and effort. My dad's face turned that familiar shade of red I'd seen so many times when I didn't immediately agree with his plans. "You're being selfish," he spat out. "Denise needs family right now, and this is your chance to be there for her." The irony of calling me selfish while asking me to give up everything for their convenience seemed completely lost on him. My mom, always ready to pile on the guilt, jumped in with, "You owe it to us, we've always been there for you." That was what finally made me snap. I reminded her, perhaps more sharply than I intended, that I'd been paying my own way since I was 18. They hadn't helped me with college tuition, rent, or really anything substantial. All my achievements had been despite their lack of support, not because of it. But my mom just brushed off my words with a wave of her hand, saying, "Janice's situation is different. She's a single mom, and you have to understand that it's not the same." It was the same argument they'd been using for years to justify their blatant favoritism, their endless demands on my time and energy. I finally stood up and said, with all the certainty I could muster, "I'm not quitting my job and I'm not moving back. If Janice needs a babysitter, she can hire one. It's not my responsibility." The silence that followed was deafening. That's when they showed their true colors. My mom's face hardened as she said, "If you walk away from this, don't expect us to be there for you when you need it. Don't expect anything from us." It was a threat they'd used before, but this time felt different. This time they were really drawing a line in the sand. They basically told me that if I wasn't willing to sacrifice my entire life for the family, I'd be on my own for good. I looked at each of them, my father's angry face, my mother's disapproving frown, Janice's smug expression, and realized that I'd rather be on my own than continue to be manipulated and blackmailed into giving up my life. Janice just rolled her eyes dramatically, as if I was being unreasonable for not wanting to become her personal, unpaid servant. She'd always been good at playing the victim, and this situation was no different. To her, my refusal to give up my life for her convenience was just another example of me being difficult. I left their house that day feeling a mix of frustration, anger, and oddly enough, relief. To be honest, after the initial hurt wore off, I found myself feeling lighter than I had in years. I assumed walking out that door would be the end of the drama. Instead, it turned out to be just the opening act. Update 1. Hey everyone, I really appreciate all the support and advice you've shared. It's hard to believe it's already been a week since I walked out. I thought the silent treatment from my family would last forever, but everything changed a few weeks ago when I got an unexpected call from my dad. The moment I saw his name flash across my phone screen, I knew something was different. Janice is in trouble, he said, his voice cracking with what I now know was manufactured emotion. She lost her job, she can't make rent, and she's going to get evicted. We need you to come back and help. The way he presented it made it sound like an emergency, a crisis that only I could solve. My initial reaction was firm. I told you before, I'm not doing that. But my dad wasn't taking no for an answer. He launched into a carefully crafted guilt trip, accusing me of being vindictive, of punishing them for what he called making a mistake. The real knife twist came when he said I was letting my niece suffer because of a grudge. I'm ashamed to admit it, but their manipulation almost worked. The thought of Denise potentially being homeless or struggling hit me hard. Despite everything that had happened, I still loved my niece. I even started making plans to take her in temporarily, figuring I could convert my home office into a bedroom for her. I reached out to my apartment manager about adding her to my lease and contacted a local school about enrollment requirements. But then came the revelation that changed everything. One of my friends who works at the same company as Janice sent me a text with a photo attached. "Thought you should see this," she wrote. The picture showed Janice at the high-end mall downtown carrying multiple shopping bags from luxury stores. The timestamp showed it was taken that very morning when she was supposedly too broke to pay rent. My phone buzzed again as my friend sent more details. Not only had Janice not lost her job, but she'd actually received a promotion 2 weeks earlier. The whole story about being in financial trouble was a complete fabrication. I felt sick to my stomach as I realized how close I'd come to falling for their manipulation again. But the deception went even deeper. Through mutual friends, I learned that Janice had recently started dating a wealthy businessman, someone she'd met at a charity gala. She'd been trying to cultivate an image of sophistication and availability, which apparently meant she needed more free time for fancy dates and social events. That's where I was supposed to come in. The reliable sister who would drop everything to watch Denise while Janice pursued her romantic interests. The more I dug, the more lies I uncovered. When my dad had mentioned Janice's job troubles, he wasn't talking about her actual career, he was referring to her efforts to secure a wealthy husband. My parents had fully bought into Janice's plan, seeing it as her ticket to financial security. And once again, I was expected to sacrifice my own life to facilitate my sister's schemes. My mom called next, her voice dripping with artificial sweeteners. She'd always been good at this part. She even dangled what she thought was an irresistible carrot. They'd help me get a place of my own if I came back to be with family for a while. I almost laughed at the transparency of it all. They didn't even want me to live with Janice, they just wanted me close enough to be their on-call babysitter. The arrangement would have left me technically independent but practically tethered to their demands. I could see right through their plan. They'd help with the down payment or first month's rent, then hold it over my head forever as another tool for manipulation. "I'm not interested," I told her firmly. That's when her sweet facade cracked, revealing the familiar manipulation underneath. "Well, if anything happens to Denise, that'll be on you," she snapped, wielding my niece's welfare like a weapon. I took a deep breath before responding. "I love Denise, but I'm not her mother. That's Janice's job, not mine." The silence on the other end of the line told me my mother hadn't expected such a direct response. This wasn't even their first attempt at emotional manipulation. Over the years, they'd developed quite a repertoire of guilt trips and emotional blackmail. Every holiday season brought a fresh round of demands disguised as family obligations. My mom would call it bonding time, but in reality, it was just her way of ensuring I did all the work while Janice got to relax and socialize. The pattern was always the same. They'd make plans assuming my participation, then act shocked and hurt when I tried to establish any boundaries. My mom would pull out her favorite lines. "Denise's been looking forward to this, or you can't just leave us hanging like that." One particularly memorable holiday, she even issued an ultimatum. If you don't want to be part of this family, maybe you shouldn't come at all. After I refused their demand to become their live-in nanny, my mom took her manipulation to new heights. She started leaving calculated voicemails. Denise keeps asking why her aunt doesn't love her anymore. The lowest point was when she orchestrated a FaceTime call with Denise, coaching my niece from just off-screen. Ask Annie why she doesn't want to see you. It was a new low, using a child as a tool for emotional manipulation. That's when I made the decision to skip family holidays altogether. I spent that Christmas with friends instead, enjoying what turned out to be one of the best holidays of my life. No guilt, no demands, just genuine warmth and celebration. My mom was furious, of course, calling me selfish and accusing me of abandoning my family. But for the first time, I didn't let her words affect me. The unraveling of their latest deception has only reinforced my decision to maintain strong boundaries. I've learned that my family's definition of emergency usually translates to Janice wants something. Their version of helping family means sacrificing my own well-being for Janice's convenience. And their idea of being there for Denise really means enabling Janice's irresponsible behavior while using my niece as an emotional hostage. After the failed attempt to make me their live-in nanny, they started spreading their version of events throughout the extended family. My dad would tell people, "We never asked her to quit her job, we just wanted her to help a little." It was a masterful bit of revisionist history, conveniently omitting their actual demands and threats. That's when I started documenting everything, every call, every text, every manipulation attempt. When relatives reached out, concerned about the family rift, I showed them the evidence: years of unreasonable demands, financial exploitation, and emotional manipulation. Some actually listened, and a few even apologized for accepting my parents' version of events without question. Janice's financial manipulation has been equally transparent. She'd regularly come to me crying about bills, rent, or Denise's school supplies. I used to help, believing she was genuinely struggling. Then I discovered she was using my money to fund her lifestyle, designer clothes, the latest gadgets, and luxury items, while claiming poverty to keep the assistance flowing. After I refused, Janice spread stories about my supposed stinginess, painting herself as the struggling single mom and me as the heartless sister who refused to help. When she started telling family friends that she might end up homeless because of my lack of support, I decided to set the record straight. I pulled out my phone and showed them the evidence, years of receipts for rent payments, school supplies, and grocery money I'd provided. I explained how Janice consistently chose luxury purchases over her daughter's needs, and how my help had enabled her irresponsible behavior rather than solving any real problems. The truth is, I do love my niece and I worry about the lessons she's learning from all this. But I've realized that the best thing I can do for her is to model healthy boundaries and self-respect, even when it's difficult. Maybe someday she'll understand that my refusal to enable her mother's behavior wasn't about a lack of love, but rather about having enough respect for myself and for her to stand up against manipulation and lies. Update 2. The peace lasted for several months until my dad called again. His voice carried a desperation I'd never heard before, or at least what he wanted me to believe was desperation. He launched into a story about Janice being evicted, unable to find work with nowhere to go. The manipulation was obvious. "Think of Denise," he pleaded. "She needs her aunt right now. She doesn't deserve to suffer because of this." I took a deep breath before responding. I did think of Denise. That's exactly why I said no to being dragged into this mess in the first place. You made it crystal clear that family isn't a two-way street here. My father's frustration mounted as his usual tactics failed to work. Finally, he snapped, letting his true feelings show. "One day you'll realize how selfish you've been. You're punishing us for a mistake, and you're letting a little girl suffer because of it." My response was calm but firm. "No, I'm letting you deal with the consequences of your choices. You chose to cut me off when I didn't fall in line, remember?" When that didn't work, he switched tactics, offering forgiveness if I'd just come back and be part of the family again. The audacity of him offering to forgive me after everything they'd done was the last straw. "I'm not interested in your version of family," I told him, "where I'm only valuable as long as I do what you want." I hung up and immediately blocked his number, adding it to the growing list of blocked contacts that included my mother and Janice. The silence that followed has been surprisingly peaceful. For the first time in my adult life, I feel truly free. There are no more guilt trips hanging over my head, no passive-aggressive comments to deflect, no constant demands on my time and energy. I'm finally building a life that centers around my own goals and happiness, rather than serving as someone else's safety net or backup plan. The only connection I've maintained is with Denise, though I keep it carefully separated from the rest of the family. Through a trusted mutual friend, one who never participated in my mother's surveillance scheme, I arrange occasional meetings with my niece. These quiet moments together are precious, allowing me to maintain our aunt-niece bond without the toxic influence of the rest of the family. I make sure Denise knows she can always count on me, that I'm here if she needs support or guidance. But I keep these visits private, away from Janice and my parents' knowledge. I want her to grow up knowing she has someone in her corner who loves her unconditionally, without the manipulation and control that characterizes our family's dynamics. I've accepted that my relationship with my parents and Janice might never heal, and I'm at peace with that reality. Years of trying to earn their approval, of attempting to prove my worth beyond what I could do for them, have taught me that they're not interested in who I am, only in what I can provide. If they can't respect me or my choices, they don't deserve a place in my life. Standing up to them has been challenging, but it's also been incredibly liberating. I've learned that family doesn't mean sacrificing your own well-being, and blood ties don't grant anyone the right to control your life. I've found strength in maintaining my boundaries and prioritizing my needs. For the first time, I'm living life on my own terms. If they ever decide to see me as a person worthy of respect rather than just a resource to be exploited, perhaps reconciliation might be possible. But until then, I'm done with their games. I'm done being manipulated, done being surveilled, and done being made to feel guilty for choosing my own path. My life is my own now, and I intend to keep it that way.